I've been asked the question, do you feel film will ever reach the point where it will be a liberating force for black people? Something that can be used to dismantle the system? I say no, because what we have in America is not in any way, shape, or form the ability to incentivize a movement that would bring about such results. Because America, one of the things that has allowed it to be what it is for so long, it has a way of absorbing the best of us, the most talented of us, and using us not to dismantle the system, but to help maintain it.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard, you liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
Oh, no, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has it. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
When I see football on Sunday, I see slavery all over again. The Negroes in the field picking cotton with a ball, and the white folks sitting on the bench with a clipboard trying to act intelligent. You crazy?
It would be disrespectful for me to say we haven't accomplished anything with all the sacrifices people have made up to this point. But I would be blind to say that we haven't really reached the goal. Therefore, we really haven't accomplished anything because we haven't achieved what we started out to achieve, and that's self-determination.
Freedom is not an end. Freedom is a practice. There's no golden age, there's no period when it was all good. There's no moment when the generations have turned their back on X, Y, and Z. It's just the different material conditions under which we struggle. And today, what we need are some vision dreamers. What we need are some folks who are willing to act on those vision dreams and to risk their all for it.
It's not just enough to make a film, we have to have the ability to market it and distribute it. These are two of the things that are essential to creating a black cinema, the gaining of more control of the technology. If done the right way, blacks have an opportunity to help dismantle the system. But that can only be brought about if the artists involved in this pursuit have a decolonized perspective. And also, they have to have a supporting audience. If there is no audience, there is no artist. They have to work in conjunction. And once we have that, that relationship, then we have the beginnings of changing the system as we know it. But before all that, we first have to define what it is we consider black cinema. We have to define what our black aesthetic is.
Basically, people are afraid to die. So they clutch to something which they think will preserve their lives. So they try to guarantee happiness to themselves by shunting dirt and misery off on someone else. That's Sterling Brown. Sterling Brown's poem, The Strong Men. People feel if I can keep them out of this building, them off this street, them out of this employment line, I'll live a little longer. They don't think it consciously, but that is fundamental. People are afraid to be pried loose from their ignorance because they know their ignorance so well, they know it better than they know their body odors.
I know you all wonder why I keep these things in my house. They make you uncomfortable. Me too. That's why I keep them here. Ivory, stone, wood, bronze. Don't gawk, boy. Get that tray filled. Boy! Did you hear me? Yes, Master. Don't talk back to me. Replenish the tray. I just ordered a darky out of this room. Do you know anything about it? From his facial characteristics, his people probably came from the Songhai tribe, the area around Timbuktu. 300 years ago, they had a university there, where the most delicate operations were performed for cataracts of the eye. People came from all over the world to have their sight restored by these extraordinary black surgeons. I believe origins can crop up even after 10 generations, unless they can weed it out. What do we create? Surgeons? Sculptors? Or makers?
How's this working? When we get on live streaming, so if you're on YouTube, do I need the microphone again, or? Yes. And is there another microphone for me? Okay, good. Well, thank you for being here. Just want to make sure people can hear. All right, yeah, so, all right, for those who are watching this thing, we're in Philadelphia, the Q&A, and you get a eavesdrop on what we're doing. So. Yeah. Does he need a microphone for Charles to?
Yeah, we're just waiting for Charles to get into the Zoom.
Oh, he's not there yet? Can you give him a call?
Oh, wait, there he is.
Okay. We're waiting for Charles Woods. A little feedback. So I should stand a little more on the side. Is Charles there? Okay. He's working on the sound. It's always tricky.
There he is. That's good.
Hey, Charles. Oh, yeah.
He's muted.
He's muted on our end, or?
No, he's that's just.
Yeah, okay, now he's unmuted. Hey, Charles.
What's up, Mike?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. Did people enjoy the movie?
Oh, beautiful.
Recording in progress.
So, I don't know, Joan, did you have a quick question to start us off?
I just wonder, should we turn the lights down a little bit so we can see the way to dim?
It's your choice.
You know, I think we can get started with you telling us, you and Charles telling us about the movie, about how.
Telling us about the movie.
Yeah, about putting the movie together, about, you know, how you researched all those clips and, you know, tell us your process.
Do you want to tell us about how we made the movie? Charles has a different opinion. This is a work in progress, by the way. That's why you see the time code and different things. Like Charles never satisfied. He's like, it's not done. It's done. But it's kind of. Do you want to take a stab at that, or? He's not here. All right, so I'll tell the story just for a second. So basically, Charles and I, we've been working since 2017 on these things. I've known Charles since the to late 2000s when he had a video store in Times Square called the 43rd Chamber. And it was the only place at the time you could get certain movies. He was like the connection, he was the plug for all the blaxploitation movies before DVD. He's got a massive collection, and as you can tell, years and years, decades of experience studying the history of blacks in cinema. And years working on the book also, right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's an old expression, skill takes time.
Indeed. So we started by doing these mini lectures on YouTube, and we would tag them when we were doing Dick Gregory interviews. At the end of them, we'd say, all right, if you like Dick Gregory, watch Charles Woods. And we'd have like a little tease. And from that, he's built a following or viewership of over 1 million views of his different mini lectures since 2017. And at a certain point, we said, well, why are we giving this away for free? You know, this information you can't get anywhere else, and it's not articulated any better. So we started, about once a year, we'll make a new film. And this one is from 2020. We're a little late. One year we did two movies. But typically how it works is Charles will come up with a topic, right? And start doing the research. I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this. And we'll bounce it out. He lives in New York, by the way. So at a certain point, he'll say, I'm ready to shoot, or I'll say, we need to shoot, like if there's a deadline. Like I think this one was commissioned by the New York Public Library and Queens Public Library, to be more specific. So we have a deadline, and I'll come up for like 2 or 3 days, rent a hotel room, and I'll just sit him in front of the camera, and I'll just get him talking. And he'll just talk and talk and talk. And then the last day, after we get enough material, we'll start to put it together. We'll sit in the hotel room, and we'll start to pull the clips that were selected, and we'll start to edit this. So it takes like 3 or 4 days to make one of these, but it's literally, 9 decades worth of experience, right? Not everybody can pull this off.
You signed 9 decades, you mean collectively speaking, you and me?
No, just him. He's the bulk of them, right? Between the two of us, it's 9 decades, yes.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, you have a question?
Yes, first I want to say congratulations for this documentary. I'm from France, and I was familiar with Reelblack for many years because I was watching it on YouTube, and I found it to be an amazing place of, to find old black movies. Watching this documentary made me think of a documentary that was done, I think, in the 90s by Manon Weeks, Ethnic Notions. And the final question when you're saying that, do you have any hope, optimism for what is to come? And essentially what he was talking about was the way that the caricature around African Americans were designed following the emancipation period, like you were describing in the movie, to justify, in one hand, the abuse of slavery, and then at the end to create a backlash when, during the emancipation period, I think when, after the war, and how they became archetype that were digested and are now in popular culture, in hip-hop, in even movies like Get Rich or Die Trying, and they have become so much part of urban culture, popular culture, that people are not able to actually see how they were designed in the first place. And so you become, I think what you were talking about, we become our own actor in our own demise.
It's such a dominant force. Charles is flickering in and out. But yeah, I think that's what you're saying. Charles, I mean, do you want to go take that the next step further, extrapolate on that idea that we become what we see?
That's the point. Seeing is believing. Perception is reality. That's the whole point. As Mike said, this is not a finished product. I was ill at the time we were making it. We had a deadline. I think we were doing this for an entry in a Texas film festival.
Oh, is that where it was? Okay.
And to my surprise, I was shocked. It did win a prize. but the whole thing, what is important for people to understand, you know, there's an issue surrounding CRT. How many of you know what CRT is?
Critical race theory.
Critical race theory. And when you look at what's happening, especially in Florida with Governor DeSantis, what people have to understand is something related to, are you familiar with Carter G. Woodson?
Miseducation of the Negro.
Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. And what Carter G. Woodson was saying in that book is that when you make a people feel inferior, when you have them internalize this idea that they are inferior, when you control what they think, you don't have to worry about their actions. And when there is a discussion about stopping critical race theory, the way they demonize it is to say that what critical race theory will do, it will make white people feel guilty about what happened to blacks. The truth does hurt, but when you give the truth about American history, you'll find that there were so many white people who fought with blacks for equality. See, they don't want you to have that information because the way the status quo maintains itself, it maintains itself on the strategy of what? Divide and conquer. And based on disinformation and the so-called misinformation that Carter G. Woodson spoke about, we have people that do not see people who do not look like them, they do not see them as being equal. In this society, what you have to understand about this society is based on what I call, not what I call, but what is popularly known as the 2 H's. Racism is built on hierarchy and hegemony. Hierarchy deals with people falling on a certain level. Hegemony is who rules. The people who rule this country are the rich class. They are the elite power structure, and they want things to remain the same. They want us to see each other as different. So what has happened is what I call the human condition, H-U-M-A-N, has been changed to the H-U-E, human condition, where people no longer see each other as humans. We base everything on color. And color has been the thing that in this particular country, and this ideology has transferred across the world because the information, the apparatus for information in America is more powerful here than any place on the face of the earth. Japanese people, Chinese people, everyone that has been influenced by the art, the Hollywood film, they all want to be white. That's the racism that has been promoted. And in a nutshell, what I say is this. When we talk about propaganda, most people, when they think about propaganda, they think of it in the trajectory of being something totally negative. But propaganda deals with mediating information. It's all about information. And the way you could maintain and the way you have a particular system persist, you have to control the information. So you're familiar with the term gatekeepers. The people who control the information. The only information they want to come out to saturate, to bombard the populace is information which is non-threatening to the status quo. So I say it's information designed to keep society in formation with how the status quo wants it to be, which is non-threatening to the power structure.
Got a question over here.
Yeah, I got in here kind of late, but I took a video class here at Scribe. It was probably the first place that I took a video class, other than when I was in college, okay? And I guess my question to you is, as an independent film producer, when you start and you have an idea in your mind, do you have a budget and you say, okay, this film's gonna cost me $10,000, $20,000, or do you just start shooting from the hip and see where the money's gonna come up from? You know, like, do you have that money in place already? You know, like how do you budget yourself? You know, I think that's, as if you're gonna do something, you have to kind of calculate the cost of it. Do you need to have that money in pocket first? Or you just say, you're just gonna go with the flow, you know, and you know it's gonna cost you $12,000, but you got $2,000 that you can come up with. You just just start rolling, you know, and see how it goes from there, and see if somebody wants to invest in you, or do you already have it down pat. If you know it's gonna cost $12,000 to make an independent film, do you have that $12,000 down in your budget, or do you just roll with it?
Let me ask you a question. How much do you think this movie cost to make?
I caught the last few moments. I would say it could be done on a cell phone. It could be done on a video cam. It could cost $400 or $500. It could cost $50,000. I don't know. It's good. Okay.
Well, thank you for saying it's good. You know, I mean, basically a hotel room and some pizzas and some Chinese food.
Right.
But it was important for us to get the information out. So we didn't wait to get it cleared. Like, I mean, that's the dilemma now. Like, there are other people that are making movies that are similar, and they're clearing rights or using fair use, they're licensing the footage and all that other stuff. If we were to do that, yeah, then it would be a much higher budget. But we know what the audience is for this movie is schools. We made a concerted effort to want to get these in front of people that specifically wanted to be educated, so we weren't necessarily interested in licensing and all that other stuff that would bring the cost up. It was more about getting the information in place. Now, I think Charles would like the next piece to have more talking heads, not just you talking, right?
Yeah, to bring other people into the equation, other people's ideas, you know, not to get away from even making an attempt to answer this gentleman's question. I think one of the first things you have to ask yourself is, what is the reason you want to make a film? Are you making a film to make money? If it's to make money, then the whole thing is, any film that's made, there's going to be a cost. But if someone's going to invest and put up the money, they want to know if this film, this project, is going to at least give me my money back and hopefully make a profit. And in the discussion with Mike, a lot of times when we're collaborating on these efforts, as an artist, because this is art, it's saying something. It's a way of saying something. Someone looked at this and they used a term that I said, you know what, Mike? I love that term. They don't call it a film, they call it a video essay. It's my perspective on how things, from a media perspective, how they're done. But the thing is, it's a way I can bring to the attention of people who become the audience, the spectators, to show them things from my perspective of what I feel is the information that's controlling us as a people. And Mike will say, there is an investment in this. On the smallest level is where we make the film and then we don't even think about covering the cost of the footage. To have this in a major release, then we have to get clearance rights on the footage. But if we're bringing it to an audience, like, thank God there's so many people tonight, it's beautiful, because people are not even tuning in anymore. And thank you for coming out. But the whole thing is this. When films are made, you take, for example, how many are familiar with Ava DuVernay's latest film? Mike? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people.
That is not considered a mainstream film. And she did not get corporate money to make this, so she had to get donations from funders who have the money to say, okay, we feel it's important to finance this, to get this out, because the public should see this. My question is, what made you people come out to see this project? As the gentleman said, he took classes at the Scribe, but the thing is, what made you want to see this film? And after seeing it, did you find that it answered some questions? Did it raise some things you never thought about? That's important for us as filmmakers, because the whole thing is this. With media, propaganda, and messaging, you want to know if you reached an audience, if they understood what you were trying to say. And for me, as an artist, I think it's more important about being able to use your art to stream, to say what it is you want to say in the most uncompromising way possible, where I'm not going to dilute my truth for the sake of making money. I think what happens too often is the question has always been asked, when an artist creates his work, is it for the artist's sake or the audience's sake? Because in many instances, when you're trying to make something to please the audience, a lot of times what you do is you dilute a lot of what you want to say, because to make something the most commercial way, the most commodified way possible, a lot of times you have to be careful is that you do not upset the audience. And that's where terms like politically correct come to play, where when you see movies, motion pictures today, you'll find that a lot of the characterization, there's this illusion of inclusion where it's about making everyone feel good and not pitting one group against another group, where everyone can say, oh, this movie made me feel good. It was a diversion. It was entertaining. That's on one level. But when you're making an attempt to speak truth to power, then you always have the problem that you're confronted with, where number one, if you're talking about racism, you certainly do not want to make some people feel guilty about the imagery. The imagery in this film, for me, it's demonstrable evidence of the racism that was popular during the 30s, the 20s. It was popular because this is the imagery that went unchecked. It was left unchecked because the people who were making these films, they had nothing to make them do otherwise. And not until the war years in the 40s and the civil rights years of the 50s and the growing strength of Black organizations and sympathetic white groups who said this is wrong, not until that power came to play, did this kind of imagery stop being so overt? It's more covert now, but in the early years, you take, for example, 1915, The Birth of a Nation. You had Woodrow Wilson said that this film is like writing history with a sword. This was the imagery that they wanted to project of a people. And the reason why this imagery came about is because what you have to understand is this. The same thing happened in Germany, what led to the tragic Holocaust of the Jews. And the Germans, they knew the power of film. In order to commit genocide of a people, you first have to dehumanize them. You have to make it where the elimination of these people is not felt by the populace, where the people go along with the information that they've got. This is propaganda. And as long as this kind of propaganda continues to exist, the world will continue to be the way it is.
Got a couple more questions. Thank you for that. Yes, sir. Go on.
Mr. Woods, I commend you on your film. It really brought to light that some things that I've known as a black man, being in a biracial family, mother being Creole, father being Dominican, and that means I have two different races running right through my bloodline. But the thing that made me feel that this made an open book, some of the things I've seen that it was completely treacherous, how they made people of color, how we felt like we was like dirt and we didn't have any intelligence, but you brought it to the forefront, and I commend you on that.
Thank you. How many are familiar with Frantz Fanon?
Yes, 30%.
How many have heard the book, The Wretched of the Earth? Black Skin, White Pants? What Fanon psychoanalyzed was the impact of colonialism. Colonialism, what colonialism does, and this is what Fanon pointed out. It takes a people who become oppressed, and the culture, the mainstream culture, the culture of the oppressor, is used to make the oppressed people feel inferior. And what happens is that the culture, Fanon said, it makes the oppressed feel that they are savages. They are everything that's being said about them. They have internalized it. And this is the same thing that Woodson spoke about. It's the same thing that has happened to women. You have women grow up in a culture that's chauvinistic. It's all about look what's happening to women now. They don't even have a decision over their own bodies. When I grew up, Christmas time, I got boy things, girls got girl things. There used to be a logic question where, follow me, give me a sec. What happens is, the question was, the blind beggar had a brother who was, the blind doctor had a brother who was a bum, but the bum did not have a brother who was a doctor. And the question was, how could this be?
Anybody have the answer for it? Go on.
Because it was a sister.
The doctor was
a
a woman. The doctor was a sister. The doctor was a woman.
Yes.
Okay.
But see, that was not in the thinking. That was not in it. My daughter, she just became a psychiatrist. And she says, when she walks in the first of all, she still looks like she's about 16. But when she comes into a room, it's the last thing that would come to the person's mind, the patient, is that she's the doctor. I remember I grew up on Westerns, and there used to be the people waiting for the stage to come to town, because thank God the doctor was going to be on the stage. And when the stage pulls in and everyone gets off the stage, they approach all the men getting off the, are you the doctor? A woman gets off the stage, and it turns out she's the doctor, and she's going to catch Ellen. These are what we call stereotypes, archetypes, tropes. This is what happens when we allow things to go unchecked. They do not want us to question anything. Right now, we're getting ready for an election, and you'll hear the term, they'll use a lot of times, they'll say, the low information voter. Or they'll talk about one of the candidates who's gonna, I don't know how, but one of the candidates, they'll say, how can anyone like this person be allowed to run for the presidency? And when you ask the people who support this person, the only thing they can say is that he did so much for America. Now, forgive me for dabbling in politics, because two ways you can get in a fight. You talk about politics, religion, things like that. But the thing is, I want to make the point, is when they speak about low information, what they're saying is this, and this is a fact, that the people who run this country, they know this from day one. You do not allow people to get the information that is based on demonstrable, verifiable truth. You feed them a bunch of garbage.
Good stuff. How much time do we have left? We're still good? Two, three more?
We have another question.
Okay, question.
You mentioned
Tighten it up.
hegemony. Oh, sorry.
You mentioned hegemony during your talk, and I wanted to know what's your view on what's the state of hegemony now? We were looking at older
Oh,
films.
the mic got turned off.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you just got cocked.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm wondering what's your view of what the state of hegemony in filmmaking is now? Because I believe it's still serving the same purpose. But what do you think?
It is. And the thing is, what has happened is, the imagery you saw in Savages, Service, and Specialty Act is what we call overt racism. You can't have that kind of imagery today. So the trick is that you have to make it more covert. You have to construct it in a way where it's not obvious. And there are different ways they do that. And just to make it to the point and be as succinct as Mike has just asked me to do, is what has been the trick, what I call tricknology, of the people who run this government, who run this system. They're smart. That's why they continue to run this system. Because the thing is this, they know that information is power. And power, for me, is an acronym, P-O-W-E-R. To maintain power, you have to control the P, politics. You have to be the O, the oligarch, or the plutocracy, where the minority rules. The W is for wealth. The E, you control the economics. And that R, guess what that is? That relates to what we're discussing now. You control the rhetoric. Rhetoric is about the language, the information. Once you control those things, you will stay in power. God, G-O-D, for the people who run this country, what I call predatory capitalism. GOD stands for gold, oil, and drugs. I was just in the hospital and I went to get my pills. And I went in for emergency reasons. I didn't go in as a veteran. And when I went to get my pills, it was $700. You know how many people get sick, they go into the hospital, and they can't pay their bills? I mean, they're trying to find ways to cut the cost of insulin, but all of the costs that we pay in this system, it's unquestionably a sin. And it's all about profit. And what I call pop culture, P-O-P culture, in this system, it's about P, power, O of privilege. The privilege dictate everything. And the only way that's going to change is if we question the information that we're getting, and we make the people who are supposed to serve us actually serve us. And that's the only way we're going to get change in this country.
We're getting a good Charles tonight. No puns yet, though. We haven't gotten a full dose of Charles Woods yet. Setting them up, but go ahead. One more.
Thank you all for putting this on tonight. It was really interesting, very thought-provoking film. I just wanted to make a quick comment, and I did have a specific question. As I was looking at the images near the end, especially in that last scene, what they were saying about, kind of bringing Black people into the fold, it made me think about certain things in my family. Like, I just wanted to comment that, like, the difficulty, like seeing people dance and like joy and do all this stuff, but seeing how it's the people are still service and all this, the difficulty in breaking out of that isn't simply like becoming the opposite. Because I think that's something that I've learned a lot of, like, be proper. Like, we want you to be like my mom and parents and all that. Like, we want you to like speak proper to like kind of combat that. And the difficulty is like you run right into the trap of just acting white or just acting like the dominant culture. And it's like, how do you kind of express this joy? It's more about, the opposite of that is more about expressing complexity, I think, and this deeper intelligence that like when you're a full human being, you can kind of like, you fully express yourself. And so I was just, that was just what was coming up for me as I was watching. Like, how do you kind of express joy? How do you express like these deeper thoughts without also like just mimicking white culture, the dominant culture, whatever. So just a specific question. The one thing I just wasn't sure about, I mean, I lean left, socialist, and I'm a filmmaker myself, and the one part where you were saying you didn't think that film could ever be a kind of a revolution. I forgot the exact word, revolutionary.
Can be used to dismantle the system.
Used to dismantle the system. I just wanted to see if, because maybe I'm just a bit more optimistic about it, or maybe I misunderstood, but I just wanted to see, like, could you expound upon that and, like, give a bit more of your thoughts on, how you feel about the mechanism, the vehicle of film, and how it relates to, like, the power structures and, that relation and what possibilities it holds.
Would make sense, or, I mean, starting from the beginning of the movie, he says that film is a propaganda that's used to reinforce the status quo. And the status quo in this society is white supremacy, right? So, I mean, can you jump off from there, or?
I think that, to answer this gentleman's question, when and I think he's optimistic because I think he feels there's a power in what we call alternative cinema. We have what is called mainstream cinema, which is made for the masses. But alternative cinema is supposed to be where we have an attempt by conscientious filmmakers to put something that speaks truth to power. And I love words, and I look at the word alternative, and if I break it up into two words, I have alter, and what's the other part?
Native.
Native. So I want to change the native perspective. The native perspective is the mainstream perspective. I want to make film, when I speak truth to power, I want people, when they look at when a man looks at a woman, he doesn't objectify her. When a white looks at a black, he doesn't negatively stereotype. And when people say this is part of my culture, they say it with pride. Because first of all, there is no standard on culture. There is no one standard that this is the best culture. Everything else is inferior. That's someone else's construction. That's what race is. Race is a construct. And the people who created race, they constructed the ideology of race based on the projection, the perspective of how they saw themselves first, and everyone else they saw coming in as inferior. See, the racist inferiorizes the other. We hear the term the other. Everything that the racist does is to make everything that's not him or like him inferior to him. That's what white supremacy is. That's what any kind of supremacy is. And a lot of times you have to be very careful, is because we have a mixed audience, and I want people, a lot of times I say, you know what? When we talk about Black history, we'll know about the Harriet Tubmans, George Washington Carver. We'll know about the movement, the abolitionist movement. But do you know how many whites funded the abolitionist movement? Do you know who the first people who protested against slavery? White Quakers. That's what gets back to the point I wanted to make about CRT. Why are people afraid of CRT? Why do they want to demonize it and say it's only going to be about making certain people feel upset and guilty? If everyone knew the truth about this country, they'll know that the only thing that makes this country not great, but have the possibility of being great, is that we look at what happened during the Civil Rights Movement. That came about because of film. It came about because of television film recording what was happening to people, kids, women, who just wanted to sit at a lunch counter, who wanted to serve in the army, and just wanted to be treated like you say, all people are created equal. That message is anathema to the world of those who control it, because they know that, once again, the strategy that keeps them in existence is one of division, and with division, they can maintain their conquering of all the people. When the American Revolution was waged, one of the popular terms was, either we all hang together or we'll all hang separately. If we do not see the humanness of each of us, that humanity, once again, I say this, will forever be discussing what W.E.B. Du Bois said: the problem of the 20th century will be the problem of the color line. I have daughters, and I've learned, because I have daughters, how to be better as a man to a woman. I have my second wife, and I'm better with her because I don't repeat the mistakes I made with my first wife. I love a woman for being a woman. I don't see her as a sex object first. This is a mentality, a mindset. This world is in the condition it's in because of a designed mindset that the people who run this country want us to be stuck in.
Hi there. I just want to echo what everyone else has said by saying thank you so much for your time and energy on this. This has been really a great night, a great way to end Black History Month. I had a very specific question about the film, specifically the clip of T'Challa speaking to the audience about, I don't know if it was, he was giving them vibranium. I was trying to understand better. Could you like kind of dive into how that was an example of, I think it was specialty acts, or was it of?
It was basically echoing the scene from Imitation of Life, where the woman gives away the pancake recipe virtually for free, and then it echoes in Black Panther, where they give away the vibranium without any sort of compensation.
Okay, I was trying to remember if it was like, because what I remember is like he did it with resistance, but I guess it's still the same. He's still giving away power, and that's, you're saying that that's very covert, right? We're giving away ourselves to be.
That was the intention, to put those two ideas together that way, yeah.
Okay, that was it. I just wanted to understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I apologize, it's a work in progress. Otherwise, like normally we would name all the clips and where they came from,
Mike.
Yeah.
That was a great question because that's one of the things I told you the other night. I want to make sure that the message that we wanted to convey in this piece is not nebulous. It's clear that this image that the lady pointed out, how is this connected?
Right.
And you just pointed out, yeah, we have the lady had pancake recipe, but she gives away that power, but the only thing she wants is to be consigned to the basement in the house. She just wants to take care of the white lady. She doesn't want her own power. In Black Panther, every black who was killed in that, not every black, but the blacks who were killed in that, were those blacks who posed a threat to the system. And I found it, like you had the CIA being glorified, giving away the power. That is a nuanced thing where a lot of people don't get it. That's how everything's been more covert. The little ways they do things. In other words, here's the point. The black heroes, the black protagonists in our film, they are commodified. They're commercialized. We do not have people who have been oppressed, people who come from an oppressed people. We do not have them in film addressing the plight of oppressed people. We have them where they pose no threat at all. The only acceptable black, the only acceptable non-white, the only acceptable woman is those who do not pose a threat to the system, to the status quo.
I want to talk about Reelblack because I believe that among the archive of film and videos, interviews that you have many content that directly challenge these trope, stereotypes, and caricature. And so my question is, what is your, because I know that it exists online on YouTube, but what is the goal with all of this archive that you've been accumulated over the year, and where do you see it?
What's the goal? The goal, you know.
I mean, the goal is to make it accessible, but I'm saying, how do you, how do you, beyond YouTube, are you building a center, or how is the archive being?
We're in talks of getting the content that's on the channel cataloged in different archives and available other places. But for right now, it lives on YouTube. The mission statement, for those who don't know, this all stems from our YouTube channel, which we have over 1 million subscribers, and the mission is to educate, entertain, enlighten, and empower through the magical film, right? So that's everything that we put up, and you'll see memes and different things on Instagram with our logo. That's the intention behind it. What the next steps are is just to give people, we've given away so much content for free that it's devalued itself. People take it for granted. So the next thing that we're doing is we're in the process of restoring a movie called Riverbend, which is about the kind of hero that Charles is talking about. It's about a trio of Vietnam veterans led by Steve James. You might know from American Ninja or I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And he comes to us, they're on the lam from a court martial in the 1960s. They run to a small town where they're being oppressed by a racist sheriff. And they teach the people from the town how to fight back and resist against the sheriff and stand up for themselves. So this is a real important movie to both me and Charles, and we located the negative at this point, and we're trying to get the rights to distribute it freely and properly for its in time for its 30th anniversary. So looking for more opportunities to give you opportunities to actually have things in your hand, as opposed to this ephemeral nature of YouTube. For a long time, we were going through a lot of ups and downs with them. Eventually, we ended up being demonetized. So nothing comes in outside of donation from YouTube, despite the number of subscribers and viewer base that we have established for them. So, to answer your question, it's to grow the channel, to grow the brand in that respect, to make another movie with Charles is on the agenda. Get Charles's book done is on the agenda. And, ultimately to maintain some sort of tangible evidence that Reelblack is this thing, this phenomenon that's reached people globally. I really appreciate you saying that you saw us in France. This gentleman discovered us in France, Charles.
Oh, okay. Merci beaucoup.
No, but so it's basically a small operation. So it's the two of you running this platform.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, people come in and out. I mean, we've got Bill Tucker in the house right now. He shot a lot of stuff for us. People come in and out. But primarily it started in my apartment. So.
One more question.
Last question.
You mentioned Mr. Wood's book a couple of times. Can we know what the title of the book is or will be, so we can look out for it?
It's called Technology.
It's called Don't Hold Your Breath.
Technology. Deconstructing how motion pictures maintain the ideology of white supremacy.
So we need you to bombard Charles daily with where's the book? Oh, okay.
What's your YouTube channel?
What a great audience. I want to thank all of you.
Is
Yes,
this
do we
really
have time for one more?
Well, I was just wondering, what is your YouTube channel?
Reelblack, Reelblack.
Okay.
Hey, Charles.
Good. Man, you're gonna live to be 2050. Just thinking about you.
I'm good.
God bless you.
I'm good. I did have a brain operation recently, but I'm good. But my question,
love
you too, bro. My question to you and Mike are also, since Mike, you're in a university, can you think about maybe that could be a primary market for a lot of your stuff and working in concert with a lot? Because a lot of young people, I have 3 filmmakers in my family, young people in their 20s and 30s, and they had no idea. I thought we were the only geeks out there that like this stuff for years. When I met Mike, we didn't talk about Sleeper Anger and stuff like that, movies, and there were You know, even the films I made, not so good, but but you have something special, especially young people when they see those things that you do. And plus, you do need that book, bro. So, and Mike, you need your book too as well, because I mean, you guys have that energy, and you know, we don't know what tomorrow is going to be, and as we getting older, you know, anything can happen. So just keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, all of you. Mike, Charles, thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful presentation. I learned a lot. I hope everybody did. I'm very moved. I just want to say to the filmmakers in the room, film.org, www.film.org. We have a whole bunch of services and resources to help you get your work done. So keep us in mind, and I hope our programming continues at this wonderful, wonderful quality, because I just think tonight was great.
Thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, I just want to say, I love all of you for coming out, and thank you for coming out. Get home safely. Peace and blessing.
Thank you.
Oh, did it freeze? Hey.
Did you have a card by any chance?
I sure do. Hang on. All right, thanks for watching.